From the moment Claire Mason saw Ethan Walker again, felt a quiet shock move through her chest, soft, warm, and confusing. She had not seen him in more than 8 years. Not since he left their small coastal town in Maine to find a real life. She remembered his last words clearly. "I'll come back when I become someone worth standing beside." Now, he was back. And he looked like someone who had survived storms she never knew existed. Claire had not planned to see him that morning. She was only stopping by the old community center to sign forms for her charity event. But when she opened the door, Ethan was standing there, sleeves rolled up, fixing a broken railing like he had built this place with his own hands. He looked up, and for a short second, neither of them moved. It felt like the whole room held its breath. "Claire," he said first, his voice low and rough from work, "you haven't changed at all." She wanted to laugh because she felt like she had changed too much lost responsibility. Long nights, a failed engagement, and a life that never went the way she expected. But she didn't tell him any of that. She only nodded and tried to keep her heartbeat steady. "I didn't know you were back," she said. "Just came in last night. My mom told me the center needed repairs." He wiped his hands on a cloth. "I heard you're running everything now." "Someone had to," she replied, trying to sound calm. This place was falling apart. Ethan smiled softly, and it felt like something pulled tight inside her. He had always smiled with his eyes first. She remembered that too well, but she also remembered why she kept her distance. He was the boy who broke her heart before it ever had a chance to fully open. Still, there was something different about him now. He stood tall, steady, confident. He moved like someone who had learned to carry his own weight, and maybe a little more. And Claire, who always carried too much, felt a strange mix of comfort and fear. Before she could speak again, the building shook slightly. The winter storm outside had turned fierce, and the wind slammed against the old windows. Claire flinched as one of the panes rattled hard. Ethan stepped closer without thinking. "You're okay?" "Yes," she said quickly, but she wasn't. Not because of the storm. Because of him. He looked at the window, then at her. "This building isn't safe. You shouldn't be here alone." "I'm not alone," she said, even though they both knew she was. "And it's fine. I just needed to drop off paperwork." "Then let me walk you out," he said, voice steady, leaving no space for argument. He wasn't controlling, just protective, in a way that felt too familiar and too dangerous. Claire hesitated, and that alone told Ethan everything. She saw something flicker in his eyes. Regret, memory, something he had carried for years. The wind screamed outside, and the lights flickered. Ethan moved toward the exit, and Claire followed, trying to keep her steps firm. But the floor near the back stairs, swollen from last week's rain, gave a sudden crack beneath her foot. She lost balance, her ankle twisting sharply as she fell. "Claire!" Ethan caught her before she hit the ground, strong arms pulling her close, steadying her like he never left. She tried to stand, but pain shot through her ankle. She winced and grabbed his shoulder. "You can't walk like that," Ethan said, breath-warm, voice full of concern. "It's just a twist. No, you're hurt." His tone softened. "Let me help you." Before she could argue, he lifted her carefully, not dramatically or forcefully, but gently, like she was something precious he was afraid to drop. Claire's heart pounded. She didn't want to feel this. Not again. She didn't want old feelings to breathe new air. But Ethan held her with a quiet strength that made her forget the storm, the past and the years between them. For a moment she didn't think about anything except how safe she felt as he carried her toward the exit. Snow began to fall harder outside, covering the world in white. The storm worsened, blocking the roads and shaking the trees. They would not be going anywhere soon, and Claire realized something she didn't want to admit. Being this close to Ethan again scared her far more than the storm. Waiting outside, snow fell so heavily that the entire parking lot disappeared under white sheets. Ethan pushed the door open with his shoulder while still holding Claire in his arms. Cold air rushed inside, but he didn't seem bothered. His focus stayed on her, like nothing else mattered. Not the storm, not the ice. Not. not the dark clouds rolling over the town. Claire tried to stand again, but her ankles shook under her weight. Ethan didn't let her fall a second time. He guided her to his truck parked near the entrance. The storm had already covered it in snow. He brushed off the windshield with one hand while keeping Claire steady with the other. "You should go to a clinic," he said. "They're closed," she reminded him. "It's Sunday. And with this storm, no one's going anywhere." He looked at the empty road and sighed. "Then you're coming with me. You can't stay here." She hesitated, but her ankle throbbed with every heartbeat. She didn't have many choices. "Fine, just until the storm passes." He opened the door for her and helped her climb in, careful and gentle. When he shut the door, Claire leaned back and closed her eyes for a moment. She wasn't sure what scared her more, the storm's power or the strange comfort. She felt around him. Ethan climbed into the driver's seat, his jacket covered in snow, hair damp. He started the engine, but the truck didn't move. "We're stuck," he said quietly. "Wheels are sliding." "Great," she whispered. He didn't panic. He stepped out again, shoveled snow with his hands, tried to clear space around the tires. Claire watched him through the fogging window. He worked with the same determination he always had, never complaining. Always pushing through. It reminded her of the boy he used to be. The boy who fixed things others had given up on. When he climbed back in, he shook the snow off himself and tried again. The wheels caught and the truck finally moved forward. "Your place is closer," he said. "We'll get there." But 5 minutes later, a fallen tree blocked the entire road thick. Heavy branches frozen under layers of ice. "We can't go through," Claire said. He turned the truck around, but the other road was blocked too. After trying 3 different streets, the truth settled between them. They were trapped. He sighed softly. "My cabin is only a mile from here. The road to it is clear because I came through last night." Claire looked at him. "Your cabin. The one near the woods." "Yes." His voice was calm but gentle. "It's warm, safe, and you need to get off that ankle." Her heart beat faster, not from fear, but from something she didn't want to name. "Just for tonight," she said carefully. "Just for tonight." He agreed. The drive took only a few minutes, but the silence felt longer. Not uncomfortable, just full. Heavy with words unsaid, memories untouched. When they reached the cabin, Claire felt a strange rush of warmth. Ethan's place was small but welcoming, soft lights, wooden walls, a stone fireplace glowing with orange flames. It looked like a home built by someone who learned to take care of himself. And maybe others too. He carried her inside again, setting her gently on the couch. She felt embarrassed and grateful all at once. "I can walk a little," she insisted. "Not until the swelling goes down," he said, kneeling beside her. "Ice will help." Kay brought a cold pack from the freezer and wrapped it in a cloth before placing it on her ankle. His hands were warm, steady. Claire tried not to notice the way her breath caught. "You always rush into things," he said with a faint smile, "even walking on broken floors. And you always act like the world's problems are your responsibility." His smile faded slightly, replaced with something deeper, sadder. "Some problems were my responsibility," he murmured. "I just didn't know how to fix them." She looked away. She knew he meant them, their past, their almost love. The fire crackled softly. Outside, the wind hit the windows like waves. Inside, everything felt too quiet. "Ethan," she said slowly, "why did you really come back?" He didn't answer right away. He stood, walked to the fireplace, ran a hand over his face like he was gathering courage. Then he turned to her, eyes steady and honest. "I came back," he said, "because I finally realized what I should never have walked away from." Claire's breath stopped for a heartbeat. She wasn't sure she wanted to hear the rest, but she also wasn't sure she could handle not knowing. The fire crackled between them, throwing shadows that danced across the wooden walls. Claire sat on the couch, ankle iced, and watched Ethan pace slowly by the fireplace. The weight of his words hung in the room. She had waited years for him to come back, yet hearing him say he realized what he had walked away from felt almost unreal. I don't know what to say, Claire admitted, voice tight. 8 years is a long time, Ethan. So much has happened. People change. He stopped pacing and looked at her, his eyes soft but unwavering. I've changed, he said quietly. I've learned what matters. I've learned that running away doesn't fix anything. And losing you. That was my biggest mistake. T's chest tightened. She wanted to hate him. She wanted to protect herself from old wounds, from old feelings. But sitting there, seeing the man he had become, she couldn't. There was something about his honesty, his calmness, the way he seemed to genuinely care it pulled at her heart. You're here now, she whispered. That's what matters, I guess. Ethan nodded and moved closer. He didn't sit, didn't rush, he just stood near the couch, letting her feel his presence. I don't want to waste more time. I don't want to pretend anymore. Claire, I want to be here for you. If you'll let me. She swallowed hard. Her mind raced with memories of him late-night talks, stolen laughs, promises that had slipped through their fingers. Her heart felt full and fragile at once. She didn't know if she could trust him completely, but the longing she had buried for years was rising, undeniable. I don't know if I can just forget the past, she admitted, voice trembling. It hurt so much when you left. Kano, he said, kneeling beside her now, careful not to touch her ankle too roughly. And I've regretted it every single day. I can't change what happened, but I can be here now. I can show you that I'm not the same boy who ran away. The storm outside grew louder, snow piling against the windows, wind rattling the roof. Inside the cabin felt like a world apart. Claire noticed little things she had forgotten, the way the firelight made his eyes glow, the quiet steadiness in his voice, the subtle warmth that seemed to fill the whole room. You always had a way of fixing things, she said softly, even when you were just a kid. I guess I always hoped you'd fix what broke between us two. Ethan smiled faintly, a mixture of sadness and hope. I'm trying now, he said simply. I'm not leaving again. Not unless you tell me to. Claire's heart ached with the possibility of giving in. She wanted to resist, to protect herself from more heartbreak. But her body remembered the comfort of being near him, and her mind remembered the love she thought she had lost. The past wasn't gone, it was alive, mixing with the present, and it scared her. Ethan. She began, then paused. She didn't know what words could capture years of longing and pain. He tilted his head, waiting patiently. I think I'm glad you came back, she finally said. But it's not easy. It won't be. We have a lot to work through. He nodded, accepting her caution without complaint. I know, he said, and I'll wait. I'll do whatever it takes. I can't change the past, but I can be part of your future if you let me. For a long moment, they just sat there in silence, the storm howling outside, the fire warming the small cabin, hearts beating a little faster with unspoken words. Then, as if by instinct, Ethan reached slowly and took her hand in his. It was careful, respectful, but charged with emotion. Claire's fingers tingled where they touched, her pulse quickening. I missed this, he said softly, voice barely audible. I missed us. Claire swallowed, eyes filling with tears she didn't try to hide. She felt the weight of years lifting, replaced by a fragile hope. She had loved him once. She could admit that. And maybe, just maybe, she could love him again, but this time with eyes wide open, aware of everything, and ready to risk again. The snow continued to fall outside, covering the world in silence, as if giving them a private moment to reconnect, to start over. Claire realized that no matter how much fear she carried, her heart wouldn't let her walk away, not this time. Not from him, and as the fire crackled and the storm raged outside, they sat together, hands entwined, both knowing that whatever came next, the bridge between them had been rebuilt. The first steps towards something real, something lasting, had begun. Morning light seeped through the cabin windows, soft and pale, casting a gentle glow across the room. Claire woke to the sound of birds outside and the faint crackle of the fireplace still burning low. Her ankle throbbed less, and for the first time in years, she felt a quiet peace. Turning her head, she saw Ethan sitting on the floor near the couch, sketching something in a small notebook. He looked up, smiled, and her heart skipped. "Morning," he said softly, eyes warm. "You slept well?" "I did," she admitted, though her voice was still husky from sleep. "Better than I expected." He put the notebook down and stretched, moving toward the window to watch the snow falling silently. "It's still coming down hard," he said. "Looks like we're stuck here a bit longer." Claire laughed lightly, the sound feeling strange and free. "I guess so. I don't mind, though. It's nice, quiet, peaceful." Ethan turned and met her gaze. "Good," he said simply. Then, after a pause, he added, "I wanted to talk about yesterday. About us." Her chest tightened. She knew this conversation was coming. She had imagined it, feared it, dreamed about it sometimes, all at once. "Okay," she said, sitting up slowly. "Go on. I know I hurt you before," he started, voice steady but tender. "And I know saying sorry isn't enough. But I've spent years trying to understand how to be better for me, for everyone, and for you. I don't want to make the same mistakes. I don't want to lose you again." Claire's eyes filled with tears. She could see the sincerity in his expression, hear it in his voice. It was different from the boy who had left. This was a man who had lived, learned, and returned with purpose. I've missed you too," she admitted, her voice breaking slightly. "Not just you, but what we had. I tried to move on, but there was always a part of me that hoped that you'd come back." Ethan stepped closer and took her hand gently. "Then we don't have to dwell on the past. We can start now. Slowly, carefully. Together." Claire nodded, a smile tugging at her lips despite the lingering nerves. "Together," she repeated. I think I'd like that." For a few minutes, they just sat there, hand in hand, letting the words sink in. Outside, the snow fell quietly, creating a perfect silence that seemed to belong only to them. Claire felt the heaviness of years lift slowly, replaced by warmth, hope, and something she hadn't felt in a long time: trust. Ethan moved closer, careful to respect her space, but not so much that he felt distant. He brushed a stray strand of hair from her face and tucked it behind her ear. "You're amazing, you know," he said softly. "Stronger than I ever gave you credit for." Claire laughed lightly, shaking her head. "I had to be. Life doesn't wait for anyone, Ethan. But," she paused, squeezing his hand, "I'm glad you came back. I'm glad you didn't give up on us." He smiled, a mixture of relief and joy. "I wouldn't ever give up on us again," he said. "I promise." The storm outside began to ease, the sun breaking through clouds in soft golden streaks. It felt like a metaphor, Claire thought, for the bridge they were rebuilding. The world outside might still be cold and unpredictable, but inside this cabin they had warmth, understanding, and a chance at something real, I think. "I can walk," she said suddenly, looking down at her ankle. Slowly, maybe carefully. Ethan helped her to her feet, steadying her with strong hands. She smiled, leaning lightly on him, feeling safe, steady, and cherished. Each small step felt like reclaiming herself, reclaiming the years she had lost, and finally moving forward as they moved closer to the window. Watching the snow melt slightly under the rising sun, Claire realized something important. Life hadn't given them an easy path, but it had given them another chance, a second chance to love, to heal, and to grow together. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't want to walk away from it. Not ever. Ethan wrapped his arm around her gently, and she leaned into him. There was no need for words now. Their hands were entwined, their hearts synchronized, and their past, though heavy, was no longer a chain. It had become the foundation for something stronger. The cabin was quiet except for the soft crackle of the fire and the faint whisper of the snow outside. Claire's heart felt full. The fear, the longing, the heartbreak, all of it had led to this moment. And she knew without a doubt that she couldn't walk away again, not from him. Not from the life they could build together. Ethan kissed her forehead gently, a gesture of comfort, love, and promise. Claire closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of the fire, the quiet of the snow, and the certainty of his presence. Everything else faded away. For the first time in years, Claire felt whole, and she knew that with Ethan by her side, she could face anything the world might throw at them.